What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This episode is brought to you by George Wall Ford. George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. Rye, share your story about your experience there.
Mike, I went on a tangent in one of our episodes previously about it, but I can't say enough good things about George Wall Ford. I needed a new car. I had an old. I loved the brand that I had. I loved, it was an SUV, but had 165,000 miles on it. It was just time, So I hopped on over to George Wall Ford. I saw our guy Jerry, and Jerry and his team were awesome. I mean, from stem to stern, they're there, they're helping, they're knowledgeable. They have so many cars on the lot that you can go in and say, hey, I want a sunroof, a navigation. I want this kind of rims on it. I want this kind of this, that, and the other thing. There's a great chance that they have that car with all your specs, the color, all that thing. Me, I didn't particularly care. I was like, hey, I want to be high up in the car, right? I need an SUV. I'm a big guy. I got a dog. I got golf clubs. I got beach chairs in the summer. I need something that's a little more rugged, a little more. Again, I like to be higher in my car. And I went and saw Jerry. He pointed me in the right direction. And again, it's awesome to have that kind of help and support from your salesman to the finance guy to even they got somebody who helps you set up your car, right? I got an app on my phone now that's got my auto start on it. I can locate my car if I don't know where it is. I could take a trip to Japan if I wanted to and be like, did I lock my car? And I can go into the app and lock my car. So even people helping you set up that stuff, just the hands-on approach over there is incredible. So if you need a car, head on over to George Wall. And go ask for Jerry. They were awesome there. Again, stem to stern from everybody. I can't say enough good things about it. It was an unbelievable experience.
So to Ryan's point, there isn't a better place to shop for a brand new car. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Coulott.
What's up, Drop Pod people? Welcome back to Interview Thursday. Mike and I here for a quick intro of our interview today. We have Tim Christ, as you learned on Tuesday's episode. Tim is the director of golf at the director of golf operations for the Essex County Parks. He's doing a whole bunch of stuff up there. He's a former superintendent. He's been around golf for years. He's the guy he's the right guy for what they got going on right now. They fixed up Francis Byrne. They brought Stephen K in to do a redo of a former Banks course. I shouldn't say former. It still is a Banks course, but Stephen K came in, gave it a facelift, so to speak. And Tim's the right guy to oversee this. Again, knowing the grass, knowing the grounds, knowing how all that stuff works. He's perfect. They're working on Weequahic right now. So Essex County is in a great spot to move things around, to as far as their golf is, to do some moving and shaking. So Tim came on and gave us, again, over an hour after we played with them about what's going on, the history of the course, how the redo went, the redesign, all that stuff. It was awesome. Really was good.
Yeah, listen, he's a great guy with a wealth of knowledge. He's able to tap into every aspect of a golf course, not only from the grounds, like you said, but to the architecture, to the design, to the grass. My man knows a lot of stuff, and he's a very valuable piece to what they got going on there. And I know we will eventually get to Weequahic after that gets all done. I know in a few weeks, you and I are heading up to Hendricks Field golf course to see what that place is like, because he talks about it at length. He touches on the reno at Francis Byrne. It is an Essex County Parks System golf course day with Tim. And you want to be educated, you're about to get that.
And as I said on Tuesday's episode, It is not like Francis Byrne is excellent. It's not like it's that far away. I mean, we had the first tee times, and everybody thinks, "Oh, you're going up north to the Oranges. You're gonna sit in traffic for 2 hours before." If you're able to snag one of those earlier tee times, it took less than 45 minutes to get there from Central Jersey. If you live close enough to exit 100, it's going to take you 45 minutes there. It's really easy, right off the Parkway, super easy on, super easy off. Really a smooth ride up there. It was really, really good. I shouldn't say right off the Parkway, right off of 280, I guess. Parkway up to whatever the major highway is. It's just highway to highway, boom, done. Really, really easy on and off. So if you get a chance to go up there, you're looking for a new spot, you're looking for something a little bit different, don't think that it's super far away. Get there at a time where you're not going to deal with traffic in the Oranges, and you got a smooth ride. Really is. So now we'll send you to our interview with Tim Christ. Enjoy.
Okay, so today's guest is Tim Christ, Director of Golf, Essex County Park System. Tim, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ryan. You just got done a grueling 18 holes for me, especially for me.
It was tough out there.
Yeah.
Listen,
Weather was brutal.
It's
But
always tough out there for me.
But it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having us out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys have gotten out, and I'm glad that, the par train got going there in the back nine for you. That was nice.
Yeah, listen, it was a little sloppy early on, but obviously we have heard so many good things about this place. It's playable, it's fun. A lot of work has been done to this place. It's cost efficient. But before we dive deep into the golf course aspect of it, let's talk a little bit about your background, how you got to this spot, what your job entails, and kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, there's probably very few people in the golf industry that have my varied experience. I feel like I've been at the highest of the high, and I mean, I don't know whether you want to call the lowest, but we certainly felt like when I got here, Weequahic had a lot of dead grass, and it was probably, doing about 12,000 rounds because it was in such terrible condition. But, just to, I'm going on my 16th year here now. It's kind of like, I was told, life's like toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes, and it's getting fast. So, here
I've
we
never
are.
heard that, and I love it.
Here we are. I'm 55 now. I've been in golf for over 30 years. I started my career because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a Rutgers guy and played football, and one of the proudest things I've, as a person, a human being, was voted captain of the football team back in '91, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I picked up golf at the age of 19, 20 at Rutgers, and enjoyed it. I liked working outside. I worked outside, and then when I graduated, I was fortunate enough that I had a free agent contract with the Eagles, and once I got cut from the Eagles, I cried all the way home and thought, what the hell am I going to do with my life? And kind of led here, but what I did is I got into sales for a while and didn't like the suit and tie thing and wanted to be outside. I enjoyed being outside, and I love sports, so got a hold of an old professor friend of mine, and I said, look, I want to run a golf course or stadium or something. He said, hey, good, great, Tim, come on up. I went up and interviewed with the guy who ran the turf science program, and they had a certificate, a 2-year program, and he said, go interview some superintendents, and maybe this is something you want to do. So, I went down to Marion and I interviewed with 3 or 4 different superintendents, and the more research I did, it seemed like a good fit to go to Marion and start learning the trade there and go to school for turf. So I did, and I was fortunate enough to spend 4 years at Marion and shoot over to Pine Valley for a couple seasons. Their superintendent, one of their assistants, was going to be doing a growing at Lookaway. I don't know if you guys have played Lookaway, but it's a great Reese Jones track in New Hope area, and so he went over there, and and then my first job from there went to Sam Barron's at the time. Somebody had told me, hey, do a grow-in. That's the way you learn. So they were doing a 9-hole grow-in. Now it's Union National. Got to know Dana Fry and Michael Herzan through that grow-in, and they loved my work ethic. Back then, no kids, 16 hours a day with nothing. Sun up, sundown, 9 o'clock. Go in at 4:30, leave at 9:30. It was great. So, but you start to have kids, you realize maybe that's not the life for me. But then I did the grow-in at Hamilton Farm, and got that place open, and spent 3 years there. But we were 3 or 4 management groups every time. I was just looking for some job security, and it never felt that way. So then I had some contacts. Eventually ended up at Mentitaconk for 4 years, and big budget, a lot of pressure, but great job, great course, really good board initially when I got there. They were very supportive. They knew what needed to be done, and they supported it. And I was grateful for my time there, but I hit a point to where it was a lot of hours, and at that point I had 4 young kids, and I thought I want to be a father. I thought I don't want to have those regrets.
Yeah.
So kind of was looking for kind of a way not to work 100 hours a week, and get divorced. So lo and behold, Stephen Kay and Ed Brockner, I got to give Ed some props. He was running the first tee, the Metropolitan first tee, and he was the first one to come in here and see what Essex, they had done the first tee down at Weequahic, and and then Stephen knew me from years back, and we had a relationship. Next thing you know, he reached out to me, say, hey, Joe DiFincenzo wants to invest in the golf courses. We have a $7 million project going in to upgrade some of the irrigation, to upgrade some bits and pieces, some bunkers, some tees, and they weren't happy with how that project was going. So he reached out, because I had reached out to a bunch of people to say, hey, I'm not sure what I'm looking for, but I can't be, killing myself as a super and missing my kids grow up.
Right.
So he's like, well, there's a pension, it's a government, maybe you'll like, you get to run everything. You get to run the golf shops, everything, and I kind of like that. As a superintendent, what I loved about being a superintendent was, you wear 12, 13, 14 hats. You're doing budget today, you're doing, you're doing agronomy work, you're doing personnel work. Like, it's always something different, which is like right up my, you're always like, you're shifting lanes constantly, and it really keeps it interesting, but it can be very stressful at the highest levels too. That it's keeping you up at night. So there was stress, and there was hours, and I was looking for something that would fit I had incredible experience, but something that wasn't going to require 100 hours a week. So he said, give this a try, and I've got quite a few funny stories about this place in the beginning, but Joe DiFincenzo is a lunatic. He is the county exec, but he's one of the best county execs. If you're in any county in this country, that's the guy you want running the county. He takes the job on. He works 7 days a week. He works harder than I worked as a superintendent to make sure that the residents are taken care of. He's done an incredible job with the support of the county commissioners, and really, really supporting the park system and the golf courses, and really the residents, and he's out there, and he really does it. So I'm extremely impressed with what Joe does, and he really followed through with his word to me when he hired me here. He said, Tim, we want to fix these up. And once he got to realize that I had my background, and we started fixing things up, Hendricks Field was, I hate to say it, but a cow pasture or a goat farm is probably complimentary. It was sopping wet, more like a swamp. Mm-hmm. So that was the first one we really delve into. We did some holes over, and Stephen Kay has been a partner in this whole thing from the very beginning. And it's funny because, we did a couple holes that were very dangerous over at Weequahic initially, and very dangerous parking lot, and that's where the first tee was. And we had someone, when the PGA was going on at Baltusrol, I got a call, hey, there's a guy who wants to do a story over here, why don't you come over? And next thing you know, he's like blown away with Weequahic. He's like, this checks all the boxes. He's like, affordable public golf this close to the city. You're taking care of the first tee kids. I mean, it was like he was blown away. And then somebody calls me. He said, I think it's going to air. It could be 5 minutes right before the PGA that Baltusrol starts. Next thing you know, it's a 5-minute piece on how awesome Weequahic was. So that was fantastic, and it just kind of started to get people out there. And we literally, revenue when I first started here 15 years ago was $1.6 million, and our revenue's like, I don't want to say too much because I don't want Joe D, have to cut the prices, but we're very healthy, with our revenue now, and really supporting ourselves in golf. So, it's always funny when I get an email that says, my tax dollars go, and I think, yeah, we're putting money back in your pocket, actually. Yeah. It's not your tax dollars, which is rare to find. It's rare to find in any government, anything that it's not costing taxpayers, but we're starting to kick money back into the trough.
Into the kitty. Yeah.
So we started with Hendricks, and Hendricks, Hendricks was a Charles Banks. It was the only Charles Banks golf course that was publicly commissioned by Parks, which, let me mention Dan Salvanti, the director of Parks. He has been running the park system now, I don't know, 120 years. No, I'm kidding. Dan's definitely, he's been around a long time, and he's been through it with Joe. And we're talking about the first park system, first commissioned park system in the country, and we have over 5,000 acres of parks in Essex County, which just is unbelievable. Yeah. Like when I first got here, I'm reading all this, and I go over to like the boathouse now. I don't know if you guys have gone over the boathouse where there's Turtleback Zoo. It's incredible what they've been able to do. So Joe is the master of turning, bad stuff into good stuff. And they talked about the bond rate. I hear these things, and Joe's gone from junk bond status to AAA, and the guy just, he knows he's got the Midas touch in what he does because he's committed, and he most importantly, he has followed through with what he said he would. Mm-hmm. So we put, all said and done, we have a first tee facility over there at Hendricks that's world class. I would put it top 50 in the country as far as first tee learning facilities. Wow. We spent probably $2.5 million in that facility, and it's phenomenal. And kids, lower income, underprivileged kids can walk there from Belleville, North Newark. It's incredible. So to see that and what we're able to do with that course, which was like nothing. I mean, you talk about drainage. We put drainage, and then we were able to kind of go back in history, and Ed Brockner was integral, and Steve, and even having a brain fart. The original architectural Golf Digest. Anyway, why is it driving me nuts? Anyway, they all kind of went back in the history books because Branch Brook Park, we actually took about 5 acres of Branch Brook Park back. Wow. Because Forest Hill, and there was another golf club in the late 1800s were playing golf over there. There was a clubhouse. So we were able to give the first tee and 5 acres of really kind of a bad location in terms of our golf course, what we could fit in there, how things would be routed. So we did an entire rerouting of Hendricks Field. We really went in and just did some kind of really unique, a lot of, you guys are going to get over there. All right, you're going to get over there and play. But you're going to be very surprised at, it's a very walkable, cool Banks course. We got rid of some of the penal stuff, like the bunkers. You're not going to see too many bunkers behind the greens there because it's a waste of maintenance dollars. When we do this work, we want to make sure that it's maintainable. We want to make sure that it's very interesting and appealing, and it's fun golf. But it's also very maintainable because if you notice, our golf courses are maintained at a very high level, and we do that on a very low budget. Yeah. So I give kudos to my superintendents. They'll have their turf grass education. It's important that when I sold Joe on myself and what I could do is like, look, the right people, the right equipment, and the right amount of money, we can make whatever you want happen. So that was really very important. So Hendricks came out really well. Really did a lot of different things from, wasteland areas where we were, saving money, not mowing just for the sake of mowing. Just a lot of really cool stuff with Stephen K. And so opened that up to rave reviews, and then Joe said, Byrne's next. So Francis Byrne. Now I was really excited to get over to Francis Byrne because the layout, I think, is, you guys just played it.
Yeah.
And the layout is really, really good. I saw the bones in it when I first got here. Me and Chris, we started doing a lot of tree work. We probably did what equates to $500,000 to $700,000 worth of tree work over the course of time before we even started here. And then when we finally got going on the project, there was another $500,000 worth of tree work. But you couldn't tell that, right?
No, I know.
So, the gist of it is we wanted to make it as spectacular as we thought it was. We went back into the 1928 drawings of Banks Rayner, what they came up with, and back in 1978, this was, Essex County Country Club's West Course, the lower course, whatever, and they had it for a while. It was kept up, I believe, with the upper course or East, whatever they name it. I don't know. So anyway, and then eventually they said, you know what? They made it public for a number of years. I'm not sure if it was 10 years. So this ended up being public, and then eventually, like I said, the parking lot, the clubhouse kind of changed some of the routing, and they ended up selling in 1978 to the county. It's good and bad. Great for us.
Yeah.
For them, I think they could have had the second best 36-hole layout in the state of New Jersey, But I'm happy because I'm here and got a job.
You get to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of like when you hear about them kind of, I don't want to say dumping it, but disregarding it to somebody else, like seeing this spot to what it is today. Clearly the vision wasn't there when they sold it, and maybe money was an issue, whatever the case was. But seeing it in 2024, I'm like, wow, this is, we hear all the stories. Mm-hmm. This is a very, very good public golf course.
It really is, yeah. And they, like you said, Mike, they didn't, whatever the case is that a country club would do, whatever, it just benefits the public because it was excellent.
Yeah.
And even seeing, like we talked about out there, I'm sure we're going to talk about now, like rerouting some of the things, like it's a great golf course, and then you guys have clearly done all the right, like you're hitting all the right boxes to make this even better for the public.
I appreciate that. It's kind of like you get back into the passion of it. Like, it's funny because when I first started in the business, you're trying to figure out, like, seeing Marion, what makes Marion Marion, what makes Pine Valley Pine Valley, and it's rare. It's very easy when you step on Pine Valley's property. What makes Pine Valley Pine Valley?
Tired of your sock drawer looking like a 50s television show? Then it's time to try socks by Leverett US. With their vast array of color options and superior design, it's the only sock that you will ever need. Whether you play golf, tennis, pickleball, or are just on your feet all day, Leverett socks will enhance every step you take. Made from 97% nylon and 3% spandex, Leverett socks offers advanced moisture-wicking technology, odor-resistant fabric, durable and elastic construction, exfoliation components, and a blister-proof design. The performance of the socks are unparalleled in the market today, and they by far have the most color options in the business. Whether it is a holiday, seasonal, or event-based, Leverett US is consistently expanding their color options and designs. For those golf professionals, business owners, and merchandisers out there, Leverett US also offers a custom sock option. Fully customize your sock from heel to toe. With your logo on the sock and on the packaging, they are a perfect way to promote your business or make a nice margin in your shop or retail store. Throw a little text on the back heel and really take your custom sock to the next level. Leverett US is the only sock company you will need to address the one missing fashion piece in a person's wardrobe. For more information on Leverett socks, go to www.leverett.us or check them out on Instagram at LeverettUS. And don't forget, your outfit's not complete without Leverett on your feet.
But when you start
Well,
looking
you did
at,
just slip that in before. You're like, I did a few seasons at Pine
It's like-
Valley. Is that
yeah, but,
married?
you know, it was funny because our turf grass, when I was at, finishing up my turf grass, there was a little tour there, and I'm like, wow, this place is really, really what they say it is. And it's really hard to believe, too, that when you get on that property that you're in New Jersey. And for years, like, you tell people, yeah, I worked at Pine Valley. And they're like, wait, where's that? Your number one course in the world. Where is it? Nobody really understands, like, how special it is until you get there and you realize you could be, but that's the beauty about our state of New Jersey, and that's like we talked earlier about the classics are New York, Philadelphia. You get within a 300-mile range of New York, Philadelphia. There isn't better golf on earth as far as classic golf course architecture, and you see it, and then it's funny because at those places you go back in history and you look at like there's a big, I remember in the superintendent's office we had a big aerial from 1928 or something, way back when, and you see like it was sand dunes. You're like, wow, you see what trees can do over, back then 80 years, the amount of tree growth and how they change everything and the intent of golf, might not be, but then you get people that have been a member at a club for 25 years and they get really attached to certain trees that really were not in play, but go ahead and go 25 feet, 15 feet sideways, go 25 feet up, all of a sudden they become double hazards because now you're in a bunker and you can't properly hit out of that bunker because you have a tree in line now.
Which wasn't there originally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're not
or
intended to
through
be.
the 1950s and 60s when they plant a tree program and, oh, wow, we can go get government subsidized trees and just plant them everywhere. They're not planted in the right places. They're the wrong trees, and that's, I just think that, the original, it's hard to, but then again, I hear all this purist people talking about, they're going to have it identical the way it was drawn up. And then I kind of laugh and chuckle because if you did that here, this is a public golf course getting 35 to 40,000 rounds a year. There wouldn't be nothing left of it. If we didn't increase our green sizes, we went from, originally the green sizes were probably around 5,800, but they had shrunken over the years to probably an average of 5,200 square feet. And now our green sizes are 6,800 square feet. Significantly different, but can handle pin placements everywhere, can handle 35,000 rounds without looking like 35,000 rounds can look. So there's a lot of aspects to when you're doing this work to try and find that middle road of what can we maintain for this dollar, what can we make look really cool, and ultimately last the test of time. And there's some really cool technology out there that has changed, like bunker maintenance in terms of the capillary, it's called capillary flow, the bases, the bottoms, better Billy bunker. It's like a polymer glued that stops you from, like, there's an inch rainstorm and now the whole maintenance staff is like, oh, here we go. This is going to be an entire day of shoveling, raking, trying to get silled out. I mean, when it rains here, you get an inch of rain, these bunkers don't move. No. And you can look at the sand, and now there's been sand in these bunkers, in some of these bunkers, for 3 years, and it all looks identical. It's all very, you talk about renovations, and guys will go, yeah, we're going to do 6, 6, and 6. Well, in 3 years, that sand does not look the same as the first 6 bunkers. Yeah. So I'm always a proponent to say, hey guys, if you're going to do a bunker renovation, do it in 2 years minimum, 9 now, 9, next year. Do it in short. Otherwise, that sand that you're getting today in 3 years is not going to be the same. Number one, you're getting washout, silt, no matter what bunker you're in. Yeah. You're going to get silt, you're going to get grass clippings, you're going to get all kinds of things.
Just going to get stuff.
It's going to be completely different playable conditions 3 years later, and the compaction issues of, over time. No matter what you do, you can take a roller, a tamp, whatever you do, pick the best sand in the world. That bunker that you put in 3 years ago is not going to be the same as, So when people ask about bunker renovations, I just say, do it all at once or do it in a 2 year.
Yeah.
So
shorter span, get it done.
Yeah, and I think having your background of being a superintendent and fully grasping that real true side of the maintenance side of the golf course, I think being able to oversee spots like this make this spot kind of what it is, really, when you think about it. Because if you're just having a normal person come in here who's just a director of golf that can handle like the logistics of the operations side of it, tee times, technology,
Good with
kinda-
pushing papers.
you're losing why the customer is coming here, which is truly at the end of the day the golf course.
Yeah.
And I think like stepping on this spot today for me was like, all right, I've heard everything about it. Like everybody says you got to go see it. It's cost effective. Like let's see it firsthand. And then being out there, even in the conditions we saw, to your point about the bunker specifically, like every bunker I hit at today, I was like, wow, you would not know it rained as much as it did or as much as it did throughout the round.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that, I thought is a very good thing. It's like a feather in your cap to running these golf courses.
I appreciate that. And, I found a spot here that I can use my knowledge and not work 800 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, look, Joe's been great to me. And in the terms of like coming to a place that you're still having fun at work, you're still able to, have this similar challenges. And look, like I was telling you about, when I was at Marion and I went over to Jeffersonville, there was an old Donald Ross. I was blown away with what that guy was doing on a budget that was very, on the low
Fraction
end,
of
right?
what
Yes,
Marion's
fraction,
doing,
and the fact that there was a 2-hour line, because back then there was no tee time systems, and then you go out there and there's just beautiful grass, and I said, man, this guy deserves a medal. Looking in comparison, you're going, our tee times are, you go out to some of those places, you can't see it. We would get done the day, hey, we're going to go play 9. There's nobody on the course, versus a place like this that's, you go look at our tee sheet. There isn't an open tee time. Number one complaint in Essex County golf courses for Francis Byrne, Hendricks, and Weequahic is you can't get on, which is pretty fantastic as far as
It's a good problem.
It
to
is
have.
a good problem.
It's a good problem. to
It
have.
certainly is.
So,
I was blown away by how many people were out there this morning. And we played in
it's
tough
raining.
monsoon conditions
Rain.
for the first couple holes, and I was, obviously we had this set up, and we were
not allowing you guys to back
right.
out.
But I was amazed by how many people
Get me
were
out of bed
also
on a Sunday morning.
Listen, but let's talk about this place specifically, because obviously when we're talking accessibility, prices, quality, this place checked all those boxes. And I thought it was even something as simple when you got on the first tee and just walking out there, the way the patio is designed, the putting green is right here, and then you're walking out to that first tee, with the awning there, you can sit down and have lunch out there and whatnot. Like, you kind of knew right from the get-go, like, okay, this has everything that people were talking about. And I know the one thing I thought we talked a lot about coming up here is the way each hole had a name to it. Talk a little bit about, the development of this place, getting it to where it kind of is now.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that, because, you toil away while you're doing these, and you want everything to come out great. And, there's only so much money that, Joe, we have X amount of money. We can't, and I'm like, I could have spent $30 million making this place incredible, but we wouldn't have had the budget to back it up, right? So you have to keep all that in line. But you're here, like similar to now, we're on our third one at Weequahic, but every day I go there, I look at it, I'm like, wow, this is going to be one of the most spectacular urban environment golf course. You can see the Anheuser-Busch logo. You can see the flight tower all over the place. You can see World Trade One from spots. It's really kind of wild as you start to get into the project, what you're seeing. And it just takes that attention to detail every day, trying to make sure your vision, and it's funny because me and Steven and Garrett Watson's his associate, one of those big brain Cornell guys. I like to tease them, So, you got to lean on those guys so much, but there's certain things I'm not leaning on. We're doing, and they know that. They know that about me. And we have a great team involved. I keep my superintendents involved in the process so they understand, like, we're trying to, there's certain mowers we want to make sure slopes, don't go over on our short turf. We don't want a slope of more than 17, 18% on the short turf, because otherwise, you start to get wear and tear because you're trying to ride up hills and slopes that you can't mow. We're going to have, you see some of the faces of the bunkers that we've changed percentages. They look identical. Some of the bank stuff that was so much handwork, so much manpower, but we've been able to change some of the slopes to get 80% of it with a mower and maybe 20% versus 90% was push walk mowers or fly mows. So a lot of that stuff is the detail, and that's where the devil is, because when you start to look around and, like I was saying on the 10th tee, you look down there, we had tees in there, and I said, let's get rid of those tees, the old tees, because it's a sloppy mess anyway, and just make this fescue feel like Bethpage Black or Shinnecock or those kind of like those rolling mounds of fescue, and just it's a big enough area. And the beauty is in a course like this too, it's 180 acres. So you get 180 acres, you got a lot more areas to really frame with fescues and those kind of native areas. So, and the vistas from all over now are really, they weren't there before. And it's a seasonal. You get out there in November, the leaves drop, all of a sudden you're standing up there on a green, and you look through the woods and you see bunkers and greens, and when you come off of 5 and you look down and you can see 12 green, 15 green, 10 green. You're looking down and seeing some really wild vistas, and I think that's what the genius of the layout really was. And we're able to expose some of that with the tree work and some of the stuff that we did. So I think it's just a great teamwork. Everybody knows that we've been through it enough. I was thinking about how many holes I've grown in, and I'm well over 100 renovation holes or grow-in holes and renovate. I'm just like going through my mind the other day thinking about this, and it's just the experience of it, and being able to be at classic courses, kind of have that feel. I think it's just lent me to understand like what I really want, how we want to do it. So, and Joe's trust in me that we're going to come out with an awesome product when it's done. And it's kind of funny because I want you to get Steven on this podcast, because we battle. I mean, we're back and forth, and everybody laughs at us because we're just like, I'll start arguing and I'll say, all right, look, I'll be here tomorrow. We'll change it tomorrow. So he's going to the Netherlands for 2 weeks. I looked at Garrett and I said, well, Stevens might not like but we'll be moving on. So,
yeah, that's great.
But we have a great relationship, and it's funny because back when we were wrapping up Hendricks, he had just got that contract for the Rose down there, the Rose, but Old Bridge. And I was like, that's pretty awesome, Stephen. I mean, it was probably at least 12 years since the last real new course came out. And I said, you got the first one in New Jersey in a long time. Yeah. So, great guy, great human being, and enjoy working with him and his team, his engineer, and Garrett, and my superintendents, and me, and the hands-on and the support of the system. So it's, and I think we had to kind of start with Hendricks because it was in such bad condition, but then you were able to show the county exec and everybody involved what we could do if we really put the money and made sure, and
do it right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody's, why do you get so, I'm a type A when it comes to making sure it comes out right. And they say, well, why do you get so wrapped up in it? You're type A. I'm like, no, I'm passionate about making sure, it's not your money. That's why I heard that from one of the construction guys. And I said, no, it is my money. I'm responsible to make sure that every dollar we spend out here goes to a product that we can be proud of and the county can be proud of. So that's why,
For sure. So I want to go back to something you were talking about before, and it's kind of a combination of things. You were talking about the aerial views and kind of bringing the course back to the way it was. And if we look at that golden age of when Banks and Tillinghast and all these guys were building golf courses, they built them, and then sometime 50s, 60s, they changed all the things. When you and Steven and all these guys were coming together to do this renovation, how far back in the archives did you go? Were you guys breaking down aerial photos, or and not everything can be exactly the same, but how detailed did you guys get with that?
We went back. So we went back to the original drawings of Rayner and Banks, and the original drawings it's pretty awesome. So obviously the routing changed since this was the West course or whatever. But in terms of the numbers of the holes, like one was 13, I guess, or 12, whatever it was. I don't have it sitting in front of me, but we studied that, and we wanted to create some of that original intent. Clearly, the Barrett's is, there's template holes to go back to the golf cart, which I thought was awesome, and Stephen loved what we did, and my manager over at Hendricks, Zach Evil, and Chris Kerno, we all had a hand in like talking about the descriptions of the holes and template holes. So going back to like the whole history of McDonald and these guys learning from McDonald and the classic golden age of architecture. The template holes are just kind of like the things that people just love, and they love the history. So we had so many of them here. And then even some of the holes that maybe, number 3 was not a punch bowl originally, but it fit in there so well that we were like, we should make this a punch bowl. Yeah. So there are 11 template holes, and then there's, we changed 17, the reverse Redan towards the creek with a kicker mound. That's a completely new hole. So that's a Stephen K hole. You'll see the Banks Rayner on the card, and then you'll see renovated by Stephen K. But that's basically Stephen and, our collaboration of what we felt like it should be. And then the executive decision on 18, which was Joe DiFincenzo, he wanted it to be a par 5. So we made a par 5 there that I think challenges every golfer, depending on, your handicap. So, I think the uniqueness of this place really kind of, it's the everyday man's, I can go out and play a classic golf course and not spend $15,000 on my dues and $25,000. You get a classic golf course. That's why I think, you can't get a tee time, is because they get to play classic golf, which is very rare. You can go up to Bethpage Black, but Bethpage Red, I know they're very good golf courses, but here's another classic course you can play, and you feel it. You feel it in the trees, you feel it in the template holes. You feel the classic architecture here. So and that was what we wanted to make sure that we preserved.
Yeah, you did a great job of it. You really, like, not even trying to blow smoke. It really 100% has that feel of like I could be standing in 1928 right now. Yeah. It really does.
Good. And I think the one thing I like how both sides have a uniqueness about them. There's something that on both sides of this golf course that like kind of stands out. And obviously you mentioned the Brits on that second hole. To me, like, that's such a rarity nowadays to really see that and to have that and be in such good shape is like really, really cool. And then when you get to the backside, the principal's nose to me just was like, I had to take a picture of that, because I'm like, you talk about bunkers being strategically placed and all these different things and these nuances, but like the way that was configured to me, I was like, that is so good. It's in a perfect spot. It's well cut out. And then I literally thought 17 was really good, the way that finished up, having the MIG mound there on the left-hand side. I thought those 3 holes to me were like 3 holes that like clearly kind of set this apart from other public golf courses that we see on a routine basis in the state. And I think the last thing was like, a pace of play is something that we hear a lot about at public golf courses. It's so slow, it's 5 hours. But hearing that it's a 12-minute part tee times, you go to 8 or 10, you probably get more rounds. No doubt about it. You probably make more money, and probably, the upper people may be a little more happy because more money's coming in. But from the golfing aspect of it, being that spread out as well just keeps this whole thing flowing. And I think those, things about the sides of the nines, the times, just kind of make this very rare and why it's so highly talked about.
I appreciate that. It's funny because a lot of bad things came from COVID, but one of the good things was when we shut down, not that everybody in our staff pretty much in the maintenance never took a day off because you couldn't, but when we reopened and they had the single cart and you gave these guys a single cart, they're all playing, and I played in 2.5 hours. It's funny because then you're thinking, wow, people, one of our big complaints when I first stepped in the doors was, they had 8-minute tee times. Everybody's on top of each other. Don't go to Francis Byrne. It's a 6-hour round. It's a 5 hour and 40 minutes. And that kind of shows you like if things flow, people can play pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
So we started thinking, well, 10-minute tee times initially, and then when it comes down to it, we're trying to shoot to a number of rounds at each one of these places that gets us to that 100. Everybody says 100,000, 105,000 rounds here. But if we could keep it around 35,000 rounds, you don't see the significant drop off in maintenance and people beating the course up and the divots everywhere and ball marks everywhere and the tees when I first got here, we couldn't keep the tees alive. But just pushing rounds through, people were unhappy. They were on top of each other. And it was kind of like, okay, we can't grow grass. It's not maintained very well. There's ways of solving this problem and making it feel a whole lot better and making everybody happy. Yeah. So we've really tried to create that. Look, we're basic. You look at what we're sitting in. We're not sitting in some library right now. We're as basic as you can come. You got warm-up bays that you come in here. You want to loosen your back up. You got a nice putting green, got a chipping green. Get out there and play. Mm-hmm. We have nice pavilions that if you want to have an outing here, it's great. Bring your caterer. Have a great outing. But we're not. It's just not. It's not. You're not paying for a clubhouse. You're not paying for those kind of things.
You're paying for the golf course.
You're paying for golf. And the idea of us, we were so excited to see that some of the fruits of our labor is, Golf Magazine coming out with this list, and all of a sudden you get 2 courses on it. Well, we renovated them. We spent a lot of money renovating them, but we also changed the culture of how we do things too. So it's two-sided. You make sure your maintenance is done. You rebuild them the right way, and then you make sure that your golf shops are doing the right thing and taking care of people. And people are going to, especially right now, people are going to come out and play.
Yeah, listen, so. I thought that is a big thing because pace of play is huge, and then it keeps people, I think, coming back. It leaves them wanting more, and I think that's the whole point with the whole thing is like, if I enjoy where I'm at, it's manageable in terms of the dollar. Let's keep going to this spot because it's kind of checking all those boxes where, it could be cheaper but it's slower, or it could be more expensive and it's not hitting. Yeah. This place, I mean, to everybody's credit that has been DMing us and texting me, say, you got to go see it. Like, I see why. Mm-hmm. I totally do, and I commend you and your crew because it is a very, very, very good spot.
Yeah, it really is. I've said it before already. It really is. And going back to that article, it's sometimes you think like a course that's under $100 is like, okay, the quality's not going to be as good. 100%. So we're looking at like a grouping of courses. Yeah. It's like these are the best of like not great quality.
You stereotype
courses.
them.
You 100% do, and you are not disappointed in this place. Even in this, and it's torrentially downpouring right now as we're talking. It's guys just walked by with umbrellas and whatnot.
There are no rain checks. I just want to put that out there. No rain checks.
Even in these conditions today, it was.
You're on the schedule. You're playing.
It is absolutely excellent. It really, really is.
Well, I'm glad you guys are able to get out and see it, and we're very proud of what we've been able to do. And the funny thing is, like, when I first got here and took a tour, I go, man, there are very, very good bones here, and if we can eventually get to where we're at, and I think it's just a lot of it's you stick to it, just stay on plan, keep pin the ears back and keep going, and eventually you'll get there. And here we are, year 16. This has come to fruition. This is, I think as far as, and, I can't say it enough. You hire the right people. You get good people that are care and passionate. You guys got to play with Chris today. We had talked about a lot of things during construction, like bunker placement and how they should lay in there and why are we doing this, why should we do that, and those guys are passionate about it, which makes it just that much better. And Chris, Chris is a golfer. He's a 6'7" handicapper, and he gets out there and grinds, and maybe we could do this better, maybe we could do that better, which is always great. And I think that's I think it's a good quality to have when you're a superintendent, is get out there, know how the course is playing. We were so dry for the last 3 weeks. We were getting balls running all over the place, and things are kicking, and the speed is up, and of course it starts raining. It's like, there goes the speed of the greens. It's like 0.6 of an inch of rain. There goes the speed of the greens. I mean, we got Tony out there, super down at Weequahic, rolling because, Tony's a big guy, and it didn't really help today, but they rolled fine.
Yeah,
But
listen,
Yeah, no, I thought they were pure.
I guess it's going to leave us to go hit up Hendricks Field
yeah,
next,
guys-
and then whenever this Weequahic gets opened up, I know you've been harping on this all day today, and
yeah.
that'll be a spot we have to go see once that opens up next year. So
It's funny because right now I'm spending a lot of time down there, and I just keep thinking about how unbelievable this course is going to be. People are going to be blown away because, you get into these things and, you think, oh, yeah, without a couple trees here, we got to do parkland clearing. It's very similar like we talked about Hamilton Farm when I was there. Dana Fry, the architect, we went around a lot, and my job was threatened over taking down trees thanks to the DLR management. I don't know if you're listening. I hope you do hear it, but you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. But every time we went out to clear trees, Dana's like, put a ribbon around it. And I said, Dana, I'll be sitting in their office. They'll be threatening my job. He's like, Tim, we have to build a golf course, and you have to take these trees down. It's bent grass. You're not going to be able to grow it in the shade. I'm like, you're right, Dana, you're right. So we continued to tag trees and bring them down, but it was coming out awesome. But they hugged the trees, and I thought, you can't. I hear Dana, what he's saying, and I hear my job being threatened, but you have to build the right way. The beauty about this place and what we need to do with the bent grass is we started that tree clearing a long time ago. We're doing. You cannot have bent grass greens. We have the latest, greatest 007 Dr. Early shout out. He's he's the plant pathologist from Rutgers. It's probably made him $100 million over the years. He partnered with Eric to do Bayonne, which I'm telling you, fantastic, incredible.
bucket list spot. I know we
place.
talked
I'm
about
telling
this.
you.
I say it often
Yep.
on the podcast. I don't care what it takes. I will pay my own
It
way.
is. It is
Let me
incredible,
go.
and it gives you. It's just a, and I didn't get there for a while, and Doc's like, you got to go see it, and Doc and Eric did a fantastic job, and they continued to make little changes over there that are pretty amazing. I was out there in the spring, and saw what they had done to the ninth green, and I got to get out there and play again. But it is fantastic because you know what kind of experience it is. Unlike most experiences in New Jersey, you have this. For me, I haven't played. I mean, I know the podcasters are busting your chops, but I haven't played in Ireland or Europe. But it would, for me, my imagination goes out there to where this is what it must feel like, because you go down and you have these really wild mounds of fescue and natives, and then next thing you know, poke through and you realize, hey, I'm in New York. Hey, that's the harbor. Hey, there's the shipping yard. Like, it's just kind of that wild, really cool experience that when you're going through it. And it certainly didn't help. I shot like an 82 there that day. All my guys I was playing with were in the fescue, and I kept teasing them. But for me to go and play a first time somewhere and to shoot an 82, that's pretty good for me. I didn't know the course, especially it can be, don't spray the ball there.
Yeah.
That's not a place to spray the ball. So if you get in the fairways and get on the greens, it's fine, but it's really wild play. So, but it's a really cool experience, and that's what I think every golfer wants. It's just a different experience, and all of a sudden, that's why I think this place is so unique, and it's a classically designed experience that you're not going to get. There's a lot of nice new courses, and everybody talks about the newer courses, and good, they have the drainage, they have the built-in USGA spec greens, they have the tees. It's a little bit easier to grow grass, but you can't just plant a 100-year-old tree,
Right.
So
Yeah, it's. Listen, I'm excited to see
Well,
Weequahic
at least not on a budget.
yeah, that's right. I mean,
Yeah, fair.
we can cut them out and drag them over.
Yeah.
Augusta. So, but yeah, it's. I think what I was going to say, and I didn't finish. You need to come see it during construction, and then see it when we finish it. Just come spend 45 minutes. And then you're going to want to play it after you see it during construction, because right now, there's a lot of dirt out there. There's, dirt, a lot of, topsoil piles and kind of the feel of it. And you'll be shocked at how the property is for an urban golf course. Like I said, it's a shorter course, 57, 5,800, but people are going to line up in droves when we get done there because, again, we're doing new bunkers. We're kind of doing old style pot bunkers and, hummocks and dolomites and just kind of really cool mounding, maintainable, but fescue native areas, just old school kind of stuff that you're really people are gonna love it. You know, it was designed by George Lowe, the first pro at Baltusrol back in it opened in 1912, the first 9, and then it was finished in the 70s for 18. But very unique piece of property, and when you see that, I mean, we're gonna have three really classic 100-year-old golf courses, and so get up to Hendricks. You got a couple spots here now to finish the Essex run.
I do. Yeah, we do.
Get over and see come over and see the.
I got some things in the work for Hendricks.
Yeah.
I can't reveal all my cards to the big fella at times in terms of what I got planned, but that's on the agenda. And obviously, when Weequahic gets opened up again, you'll be getting a lot of text messages from me.
I gotta say, now this is where. All right, my personality is going to come out because you saw how I was ball busting you guys on the first tee. You need a maintenance section here, you need a classic architecture section here, and then the golfer section, okay? I can help you guys with the other sections. But I got to say, you got to do more ball busting on the podcast because the way when I saw Ryan rolling his ball over, all right, I was like, I don't know if Mike saw that or not. So I see you shaking your head. You're like, I wasn't rolling the ball over. Mike would have. But I think you got to do the same kind of ball busting when you're playing the golf course on the podcast, okay? And then if you need a maintenance expert or a classic golf, I don't want to say classic. You go call Steven on some of that classic stuff. But, the maintenance guy, I can come in, give you some lawn tips.
I got a great idea. So when we add in the segment to phone a friend,
yes.
You're going to be the guy. You're going to be the guy that
start saying, "Hey,
someone's got some question about maintenance. 1 second, please."
Yeah. Yep. Call me up. We'll talk about dollar spot, summer patch. We'll talk about pre-emergence, whatever you guys want to talk about.
Works for us.
I'm very good at busting my superintendents on everything they do wrong, and they're like, "Boy, we wish he was a paper pusher." So we get out there. Look. You know what's good about this is they understand I've got their back. Also, they can ask me anything. Also, if we have budgeting, we have summer patch on the Lomo Blues. You see those Lomo Blues, they're nice, tight grasses. But the problem is when you first sod them, the first couple years, they get hammered with summer patch. So it's a disease we need to make sure we spray for the first 3 or 4 years until we get it grown in with. That's all good knowledge to have. We had a lot of winter kill here over the years because it was POA, it was shaded POA, and that's the great thing about being in a system. The guy cares and he listens to you. Joe's like, how can we get rid of this? I'm like, well, USGA greens, bent grass, tree removal. Once we have bent grass, we'll never have winter kill again. Hopefully Chris is listening. Never again will have winter kill with 100% bent grass greens. We have 007. What you see there's a little bit of thinning right now because we put a thing that's called POA cure. We're getting rid of POA in the bent. We're very aggressive to keep these things 100%. So when I leave, I can always say they were 100%. It was the next guy's fault. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's, and just that intimate knowledge of the turf really helps when you're building it, All
right. Well, listen, we got some ideas and we got some things to do moving forward.
And you could do a lawn tips. I mean, I got nephews calling
listen,
me.
I love the idea that you want this thing to branch out. Yeah. I mean, we would need a money guy now. Yeah. We need a money guy to now support all these ideas.
I got my nephews calling me, Uncle Jim, and then they FaceTime me and they turn around like, what is that? Yeah. I'm like, well, that's red thread. Yeah. So how do I get rid of it? You don't. It's red thread. Just let it go. Let it.
See? It's a whole nother level.
What do I have to do here? Go get some seed, cut some of the trees down, and. So it's funny. You become the family consultant in turf. My father-in-law, for years, tried to grow grass with 2 big oak trees. I'm like, I don't care what you do until you get rid of those trees. You're going to have moss. You're going to have just crappy grass. So eventually, he got rid of the trees, and then he didn't put pre-emergent. How do I get rid of it? I'm like, we gotta just forget it.
Well, you need weeds. Yeah. You could have your own little tutorial.
Yeah.
How to?
It's like but just give me 5 minutes a week. We'll talk about the season. We'll talk about, hey guys, it's time. It's time to put the pre-emergent down. Hey guys, you want that ugly crabgrass, goosegrass? So I can be your agronomist.
We get to a point where we're talking about pre-emergent and doing good numbers, and Mike and I were unsure of what we had going on.
Call me Call
Well,
me Big T, the lawn doctor.
Yeah.
Listen. But listen, I can't thank you enough. This whole day, I know weather might not have been ideal, but this day was. So I mean, thanks again, and obviously we'll definitely be in touch.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I want to say one thing to Ryan. You better not forget this place the way you forgot that trip that you made, that golf trip, all right? So, I mean, a weekend
do my
on
best.
Ireland, and you totally forgot it. Come on. So, but don't forget Francis
If
Byrne.
he does, the listeners will DM me and say, listen, you
That's
might need
right.
to remind him.
That's right.
So.
He's played it. He rolled the ball over on the 18th.
And I'll be back to play it again.
Yeah, definitely love to have you guys. Hendricks, come during construction. We're slated to open. I hate to say this, knock on wood, but we're looking at Memorial Day weekend or right around there. But my son gets married that weekend, so we might have to push it in front or push it behind. So, but we want to get open Memorial Day weekend next year. Just stop by. We'll take a little tour.
Yeah.
That way you'll see it in the ugliness right now.
I would love that actually. That would
you can really see the bare bones.
seeing Steven
Yeah.
on a bulldozer would
You'll
really make
never
my day.
see
anyway.
that as long as he lives. He's not a bulldozer guy, but he's a sketch artist. He loves drawing sketches. So, no, but come down. We have one of the best shapers right now. He is world class. First team ballot Hall of Famers, what
Nice.
Steven would call them.
Yeah.
Come down, see how we're shaping the greens in. See how kind of like we're, the 16th is just completely different than what it was. We've got 7 pop bunkers in it, some really wild looks to it. Everywhere you go, you kind of see vistas. It reminds you that you're out in this beautiful piece of property, and all of a sudden there's little vistas of, hey, I'm in Newark.
Yeah.
Anheuser-Busch. I keep saying it, but you'll see.
Yeah.
It's pretty spectacular. I know you guys got lots of time with kids, and, teaching and podcasting, and you guys, with all that time off, stop by. But we'll be doing the construction, literally for the next 5-6 months. Stop by anytime.
Sounds good.
That sounds
All right.
great. Hey,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
again. This was
You
a
got
blast.
it.
Really
Appreciate you
appreciate it.
coming out.
Appreciate it.
All right.